Hey everybody, this is Rob. Well, more or less, this is the first time change Carnival podcast, and my watch says 12:03, and I think we're lucky we're here in a way.
I have 11:05.
Yeah,
no wonder we're late.
That's what's going on here. We have our two erstwhile drummers, our co-host extraordinaire, Greg and John Erik.
Hi there.
And you know what? Because we do things differently here, and we're going to have a lot of guests coming on. Everybody wants to be on the carnival, of course. We have a line outside. We have the masked grappler fending them off.
Yep, he's out there.
He's out there keeping the guests away. We're going to have the autograph seekers after.
Whipping his chains around.
But we thought, what the heck? We do things different. Who wants to do it in October? We're going to have our Halloween special in November, and doesn't mean we're going to talk about anything Halloween, but at least we don't have to prep for guests. And honestly, at the carnival, prepping for guests means we remember what their name is. But let's be honest. But we can just have some fun.
I got to tell you, yesterday I was scavenging around the Roku channels, and I got on that Tubi thing, which I love. They have so much cool stuff on there. I was watching Dragnet this morning, the old Dragnet. Anyway, I finally got to watch most of Plan 9. So I was like, I'm going, okay, I got to watch this movie, because I've seen so much about it, and it's like, I watched the half of it.
You've gotten this far in life and you've never seen that.
Oh my God.
Greg, who am I?
I know. Well, and then all of a sudden he just shows up like that, and it was so funny with the Bela Lugosi stand-in there.
90 seconds or so of footage of Bella, and then the rest is some stand-in.
Who looks really like him a lot.
But I think my favorite part were the curtains in the background, as a background.
Actually, if you watched, I love it would be night, then day, then night. You see the tombstones tipping over.
Yeah, and the shrubbery moving, in the bottoms of the stands of the shrubbery.
It almost looked like the cemetery scenes almost seemed like Dark Shadows. It looked so set. You know what I mean? It was obviously a set, but it almost looked like TV, and it was supposed to be.
It was, and the movie crosses over my two favorite genres: bad horror movie and pro wrestling, because Tor Johnson,
the Swedish wrestler, is who else could play him in the Ed Wood movie but George Animal Steel?
Played him perfectly. That was a great movie.
Oh, that was
Ed Wood movie.
I always start. I used to.
Have you seen that?
The what?
Ed Wood.
No,
it's a really good movie, but a really bad director.
I think that's on there too.
Now that you've seen Plan 9, you got to see Ed Wood.
Okay,
is
that
awesome.
Johnny Depp?
Johnny Depp.
Tim Burton. Martin Landau is Bela Lugosi. George Animal Steel, perfect, is Tor Johnson.
I'll have to watch that.
That's great.
What I used to do is this year's been a little messed up for me, but I would always start October 1st, I'd watch Ed Wood. It was like the spirit of starting Halloween.
Ed Wood what?
Ed Wood, the Tim Burton movie. Ed Wood, if you could.
Who's on first?
I took him. No, I took him.
What are we
I took a friend of mine to see Glenn or Glenda at the drive.
Oh yeah.
I didn't tell her what it was about. Midway through the movie, she's like, "What are we watching?"
Yeah, right.
Everything. But the thing about Jack Webb, I will always love how he portrays hippies on Dragnet.
Yeah.
There's nothing better. The one where she's stoned down the babies in the in the oven or whatever.
Strung out on dope.
And he's trying to lecture them about the police now, and get the good afros on, the good things.
Listen, mister, you know what a cop makes a month?
Talking about marijuana.
It's a highway, all right? A highway straight to hell.
He must discharge a bullet. If he discharges one, he must file a report.
But you know what's interesting about Dragnet? If you watch the really, really early ones, they're way more... They're obviously way more 50s crime drama. There's gunfire. There's all kinds of pedophiles, a storyline. It's a much darker thing.
Taken from true files.
The 60s one, they dumbed it down. They tried to make the whole thing. Remember the guys with the blue faces? They were doing acid or something.
Did you ever see The Marine? Right. There's one of the greatest lines in movie history. It's the Marine. It's Jack Webb as a drill sergeant.
No.
So he goes, now, I want you should be good enough as a Marine to shoot a flea in that sand dune. And they shoot, and he picks up a flea, and he goes,
it's still alive.
Okay. No, he picks it up, and he goes, no, you failed. But I shot a flea. I said shoot a male flea. This is a female. Look it up, the God. Marine.
All right.
It's actually, no, it's the DI. The DI is the name of it with Jack Webb.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That's a That's incredible. But one thing I want to ask about Halloween, is that the one day the masked grappler can go around unmasked among the masses and nobody knows? On Halloween night only.
On Halloween night is his busiest night, usually, because not only does he take occasional gigs for me when I'm gigging on Halloween, but it's a big night in Sri Lanka for wrestling matches. So he's almost always on a slow boat to Sri Lanka for the back end of Halloween or October, and that's where he was this year.
Yeah, I remember the gig with him. He played. I don't know where you were. You were probably out trick or treating. He played in your stead that one year.
Oh, several years. Yeah. Matter of fact, when he hears that I have a gig on Halloween, I immediately he calls me up and says, "I'm taking that gig." And I go, I really want to play that gig. I'm taking that gig. And I go, but the Masked Grappler, I've wanted to play this venue. We finally got it. I'm taking that gig. It's Halloween night. I'm taking that gig.
That bastard.
So one time I tried to actually fight him for it, but he suplexed me into the bathtub and I knocked me out on the end of the tub, and it was and he went and took the gig.
If only he wasn't
I stopped.
If only he wasn't in Sri Lanka when AEW was in town, he could have done like a tables and chairs match with Kenny Omega.
He blows Sri Lanka off if I have a gig on Halloween night. He's like, I mean, the payoffs in Sri Lanka are not great. It's a bucket of oats and a chicken if you win the tournament.
Yeah, but that's some years' pay in that country.
And all the 8-year-old workers you can have.
he donates them to charity.
That's very nice. One thing I know, John, you wanted to talk about this, and this is sort of our Halloween special. So the Universal Monster movies, both of you.
Man, just watching them this weekend.
Now, do you have the thing? You should read sometime David Skal's, like his books.
Yeah.
Such incredible stuff he gets out. The recent one I read was about Boris and Bela.
He does a lot of good commentaries.
Just the things, the nuggets.
Wow, it sounds like I should check it out.
He puts in, and it's all like the trivia that we love and everything else. And like we all know, like the whole Bela Lugosi thing about Frankenstein.
Right.
Yes.
Nobody really knows for sure what happened. Now, they think it was the makeup. They think that at the beginning the makeup was a lot different than the Jack Pierce makeup. You could find posters, look even probably on Facebook, or you could find posters with Bela Lugosi advertised as Frankenstein.
Well, I heard that it was mainly because there was no speaking lines.
That might be it. That might be it, but they heard like the makeup. He looked like the Golem, or he looked like a yellow-skinned Mo Howard.
You're talking about when Bela finally played
when he was going to play Frankenstein the first time.
I just watched that movie this weekend.
He dropped out, and supposedly they changed the makeup, but then he did play him in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman.
Yes, right. It was very. I just watched that movie Saturday night.
So different.
And I've watched that movie every Halloween season. I go through all of them actually, and there was a scene, he walks around in that movie like he's blind because
he is blind.
They cut a scene. I read somewhere that they cut a scene out that shows how he lost his sight.
Here's what happened. What was the movie? Was it Ghost of Frankenstein where Igor gets the brain in Frankenstein.
Yes,
he's blind.
Yes, mm-hmm.
This was the direct sequel to that. And what happened was, I guess David Skal said in his book, there's a scene where he speaks and he says he's blind. But watch the movie very carefully next time you watch it. There's a scene where he mumbles, "I'm blind." He doesn't
in the
Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. You can see him say, "I'm blind."
Oh.
So I have a question on Son of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
What was the purpose of him wearing that fur thing?
He's cold.
I could never understand what the point of that was. Where it just magically appeared out of nowhere. It just seemed so odd.
Out of the ice. They found him in.
They found him in the ice, didn't they? Yeah.
A couple movies he was found in ice.
Fur piece, then I don't know.
Well, that was the last one that Boris Karloff played.
Yeah, the third
right?
one.
Yeah.
And I guess he didn't read the novel, obviously, or maybe he didn't care. But in the novel, and I want to use a big word just to show that I can, the monster was quite loquacious because he learned, when he was in the woods, he would listen to them reading books, and he learned how to speak.
Well, that's why he talked in the Bride of Frankenstein.
Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't want to talk. Boris Karloff thought he'd be better silent, so in Son of Frankenstein, he doesn't talk again.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes, that's
werewolf.
right.
Werewolf.
Yeah, and he got and he gets some nice fur sweater.
Drugs. Good.
Drink good. But the part
smoke.
No fire. No, this is good. That's like, I almost, like, during that scene in Young Frankenstein, I was crying. The one where he goes with Gene Hackman as the guy in the cabin.
Oh, yeah.
He goes running out.
Yeah, that's great. What a great depiction of the Frankenstein.
But the other trivia about Frankenstein meets the Wolfman is, I guess, Bela Lugosi, there's two things. Bela Lugosi brought the idea of the Wolfman movie to Universal. He wanted to play him. And they screwed him over. He played Bela the Gypsy. But he only plays the monster for 8 minutes in that movie because, I guess, of back problems. They brought in Glenn Strange to play him, and Lon Chaney Jr. did double duty and played him in a few scenes.
Oh, did he?
Wow.
Yeah.
Glenn
Keep it on
Strange,
next time for all this stuff.
Glenn Strange played him in the Evan Costello one, too.
Yeah,
Yep.
they were, what, Karloff? Was it Lugosi? Strange played him like in some of the later Frankenstein ones, too, I think.
The Ghost.
Glenn Strange also played Butch Cavendish in the Lone Ranger pilot.
Yep.
Just so you know.
I think in terms of other things for Halloween, I always watch Bela's series of the Phantom Creeps with the big robot.
I love that. I love that.
See, Doctor, what's his name? Zarkov?
Yeah.
But I love the robot.
Yeah. The big giant 8-foot thing. And
Yeah.
I bought the cereal. That's great stuff.
I own the cereal, and I'm going to take over the world. Yes, this big robot's going to conquer 4 billion, 7 billion people on its own.
Yeah, right. Man, the other staples for me, besides Universal, I mean, they meant at Halloween time is the original Halloween movie. I mean, John, man, I just love how it's and the very first Friday the 13th, campy rip-off of the Halloween, but just something about, because of my youth and the time, I can watch that every year, and it's amazing.
And the first time, too, did you get caught with the trick ending on it?
Was that a John Carpenter?
The Friday the 13th?
Yeah. No, that was
yes,
John Carpenter.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that the mother was the murder.
Yeah, and then Jason pops out of the box.
And if you examine too hard, it's too hard to accept how the mother could have murdered all those.
And you don't want to do a time thing of Friday the 13th either.
Yeah,
it seems like it loses it. So, but for Halloween, there's a dude walking around dressed as Michael Myers over that weekend.
Right.
He walked past me. I was going to kick him in the nuts if I had to get away.
Yeah, right.
But because I
thing
but
to
I guess
do.
they had. I think it must have been from the Little because they were showing Halloween.
Yeah.
But a dude was just walking around dressed as Michael Myers.
It was a great mask. I saw the picture. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Well, in fact, when
Paul,
when he came into the gig there at the Crown, he showed me a picture of the guy. It was creepy. It was really
it was because he was in character walking around.
I mean, he had the boots, and it was a good size. You know, he was built. You know, it was a good.
Yeah,
found a good guy.
Michael Myers was a big person.
Yeah,
he's 6 foot something.
The
tall.
thing about that too is I love how, like, when you have a gaping plot hole, you make sure you say it, so you address it, so nobody can ask about it.
Yeah.
How did he learn how to drive a car? What did he do when he was in there? Did he get like user manuals sent to the asylum to read up about how to drive?
You know, that's funny. It's like if you ever listen to like even Psycho or old radio crime dramas, they do a thing at the end called a denouement, where they explain everything. So, here's what happened. It's like the guy he didn't know his mother was really alive, and so he had to go to the cabin and do it, you know, and it's like all of a sudden there's like all this information, and it's like, what? And it's like, what did I just watch? I mean, it's like, and now there's another, like how they explain Mike, you know, how Norman Bates' thing, and you know, it's like, wow.
It's important not to get too in the weeds to enjoy those, really.
Well, I think they think people are stupid and they want reasons for everything. You know?
Right. I mean, the box office numbers demand a sequel, and then it becomes a cult thing, and then they have enough of a following to create more and more sequels, or the budget will get smaller, and the movies will get worse.
And then you have Santa Claus Fights the Martians.
I have like 4 copies of that on my. There's that Mexican Santa Claus movie where he's teams with Merlin to fight the devil.
My God, I have to go through your collection sometime. You have
I'll let you
to this stuff.
Yeah,
I think I saw that there was I think Mike Murray, the same place Mike Murray went to, you probably went to, was I think there's like a theater on Lake. They used to show Godzilla movies and all these. I think we had a Jerry Lewis theater around here too, maybe.
Yeah, that was on Carter Street in Irondequoit, right in Irondequoit. Yep. It's where the there's an auto place.
I used to go to the Waring all the time.
Yeah, me too.
I think I used to get springs up the butt from the chairs so too many times.
I saw the Guns of Navarone there.
I saw Tales from the Dark Side, the movie there.
I'm trying to remember what I saw there once. I can't.
It was one of those days.
Yeah. It was already one of those. It was already when it had converted to a discount theater, and they were like, playing second run movies for $2 or something. Before it's not around anymore. Even is it the Waring Theater? Yeah.
It's funny too. The Riviera Theater at Lake and Ridge.
That's
that
the
was
one.
A beautiful theater.
That's the one.
And then they turned it into a porn theater, and then that was the end of that.
Lake and Ridge.
That reminds me. That's almost exactly like the Starsky and Hutch. The Starsky and Hutch episode where Starsky's talking about Uncle Elmo's toys.
Yeah.
Now he had everything, and it's now Uncle Elmo's adult toys. and Hutch points it out. I guess we all grow up.
Yeah.
But going back to Universal Monsters, I think a lot of the appeal of Universal Monsters.
No, let's stick with porn.
Well, there is. We could do Flesh for Frankenstein.
Yeah, right. No, go ahead.
Or Pinocchio, where it isn't his nose that grows in this movie. But the Universal Monsters, I think they're all sympathetic in a way. I think none of them really want to be. Maybe Dracula's an asshole, but we don't know how he became Dracula,
right?
Mm-hmm. But did you have a favorite of them, or I used to watch him on I think WOR every year before. Remember the years when we actually had to look for stuff because we couldn't get it on video or cable or anything?
Yeah.
What favorite? What Universal?
Like Universal Monsters, the old timers.
I'm trying to think. Probably the first Frankenstein was one of my favorites, and probably the first Wolfman before it got to...
Big story from my dad. I guess him and my cousin Norbert, they saw it at the theater. They hid under their chairs when he came out.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I bought a VHS one years ago that had the thing where he throws the girl in the lake, the little girl.
Yeah.
And, it's such a short little scene. You wonder why they made such a big deal out of it.
Mm-hmm. It's an innocent... It's a scene that explains the innocence of this and the good side of the creature, the gentleness of him making friends with this little girl and playing with the flower, and she throws the flower in, it floats. The little girl should float.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
And it's stupid to take it out of the movie. I would say that's just the story of Frankenstein on itself. That first movie, a mad doctor who finds out the secret of life and death, creates a corpse out of disembodied parts. That's just, when I first saw that as a child, and you hear that monster coming up the stairs right after it's been, brought to life, before you really see it, that door swings open and he walks in that doorway backwards and he turns around. Man, I remember ice running through my veins as a child.
The sound in that movie is very important because they really boost up the bottom. If you listen, like the clumping of the boots, and the fighting when they're fighting, it's almost like they put a microphone under the floor.
And when he's screaming in the dungeon, oh god,
I mean, what was the other part? Oh, so if they took the part out with the girl being thrown in the water, then all of a sudden the father brings the body back in the town, and then you're automatically thinking he killed her.
Yeah, he just killed her,
butchered her, or something.
I've got some of the legacy collections. I've got
those are good.
I've got the Frankenstein. I'm pretty sure they have the scene in there.
Yeah, I've got the Wolfman and the Dracula one. They're very good.
And for years, also, they omitted the scene where you see the doctor actually descend into madness, where he screams, "Now I know what it's like to be God." And they figured for years and years we didn't see that part. I
think they covered it up with thunder.
Well, I guess in that Skull book, one of the movies they really cut up was the Black Cat.
Yeah,
they cut it up a lot.
That was a pretty sick movie.
That movie was
sick enough.
That's one of my favorites.
That's one of my favorites. But that's a harsh movie if you think about it.
I'm gonna skin you alive.
Yeah. But Frankenstein monster probably is my favorite. Back then the Dracula was so successful, Frankenstein right on the heels, and then the Universal that started making tons of money for them, and those are big budget pictures.
Right.
And then later, once you can see the budget go way down, you look at the sets on some of those first ones, those monumental 4-story tall set. It's amazing.
The graveyard set in Frankenstein still chills me. I don't know. It's just the way it's lit or something, and it's just.
If you can get,
when I was little, I remember that scared the crap out of me.
And if you can get past the wrinkly curtains in the woods when they're running, trying to, but no.
Well, that's interesting too, because when you think about that whole, it's kind of a spin-off of the German. What's that word that they always use? German extension.
Existentialism.
No, but it's just that whole
Fritz Lang, all those.
Yeah, like the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and all that. The weird angles, but it was that expressionism. The German expressionism.
Espressoism, the coffee.
Yeah, like Lemley was right from Europe, so that was. You got to think about it. 1930 something. Those guys came over in the 1890s. Not that long. Not that far away. So. They brought some of that culture with them, that old world, the ghosts and goblins, and that's why I think it's so authentic, because this is kind of like from their viewpoint.
But watch Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Oh, that is terrifying.
It is.
You know what I also liked a whole lot was the original Invisible Man. That was, to me,
Perfect.
it was done.
You saw the Invisible Man? Sorry.
Good one. I should have said that.
The guy who acted with his voice throughout the whole thing.
Claude Rains, man.
Claude Rains, yeah.
Guy's the best.
And that was just so cool.
The unwrapping
was so ahead of its time for special effects. I forgot. I've watched a special how they did that.
Yeah, Black Velvet and some other stuff.
I found there's a book out, and I don't know the title of it, but there was two books out. One of them looked into Dracula, one of them looked into Mary Shelley and Frankenstein, and one of the things going on when she was alive, people were obsessed with trying to bring back the dead. So there were a lot of experiments, a lot of shocking, but there was a real Frankenstein family who lived there. Right. And there was actually might have been a doctor who did that stuff. Because if you go to a lot of books and things like Macbeth they were real people. That they took stories. Right. They took stories they heard, but the story in the book that's the best. And I'll try to remember the book. Maybe post it up on here. Actually, the Frankenstein family might have had something to do to help keep Vlad Tepes out of the area. They were like a bunch of noble people, but they lived far over there. But that's where she got this from. And remember in the book, because she didn't know, she said the secret. Victor will not tell the secret of life or death, which is good because she didn't know what the heck it was, obviously.
Right. Yeah, right.
Soy Dracula.
That's what it was.
So did you ever see the Spanish one?
Yes.
Yeah, it's on my DVD.
Oh, I actually think it's better almost.
That's a lot of people do. A lot of people think it's shot much better. It's amazing. If you can deal with the subtitles, it's great.
Yeah. Well, I watched a bunch of Mexican vampire movies on Offbeat Theater in October.
Offbeat Theater.
How do they learn to ride horses?
You got me.
But then, of course, I'm surprised the Masked Grappler, maybe they don't offer enough money. Those Masked Wrestler movies like Samson versus the Vampire Women. I would think for a remake, they have to be coming to the Masked Grappler's door to...
Well, the Masked Grappler has gotten a lot of offers, but he is notorious for making bad life choice decisions. And so he'll sign something and then it'll get hammered in Hamburg, Germany or something, and misses plane, and it's happened every single time.
But he could be a consultant.
So, well, you need to get to meetings on time.
That's right.
So.
But I mean, one of the ones I have a soft spot apart from Universal is The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
I think the opening part stuff when I was a kid, that scared me to the heck out of me.
That one, that was very good. Those got pretty campy.
Clint Eastwood was in one.
By the time the creature walks among us, that was a pretty funny one. But the Black Lagoon one was great. Usually the first ones of all. The Wolfman seemed kind of campy. Well, who's the actor that played?
Lon Chaney Jr.
Yes, he was such a horrible actor.
Oh, and he would be so true. The moon is coming out. I like the best line.
It was always the same plot.
Abbott Costello meets Frankenstein. Yeah. I turn into a wolf when the moon comes up. You and every other guy in the city on a Saturday night.
Yeah, right.
And by the Wolfman in 1942, that is a full 12 years after the breakout of Dracula and Frankenstein. They were already going into lower budget.
Right.
And it just wasn't as great of a story to me as the Dracula or Frankenstein.
No, it was always the same
thing. wrote that story.
It was always the thing where sometimes this is going to cure the Wolfman, and then they find the Frankenstein monster and they get more interested in him and blow the Wolfman off. Then they fight.
Yeah.
And something goes wrong.
They always have to fight.
And everything. But the first creature scared the heck out of me.
Yeah.
But I guess you could still, I think it's in Florida, wherever it is, I guess you could still find the lagoon there where they filmed it. It's still around.
So I never saw a Creature Walks Among Us. Why was it
That's where the creature, it's like the third or fourth
They made 3. It was like, I think Revenge of the Creature was the second. They catch him and he just gets away. And the third, they try to make him a person in the third one.
He actually, they have an operation where it removes his gills and he can now breathe air and he walks around on land.
Still looking like...
Yeah.
I gotta check that one out.
It's not good. But it's great and campy.
Yeah.
In that Universal horror.
I just watched the Superman and the Mole Men, the feature one.
Oh,
yes, I have that because I have the complete, obviously.
I mean, when I looked at that, boy, there wasn't an ounce of camp in that. I mean, we go, they look stupid or whatever.
The little Oompa Loompa dudes.
But the story itself is so serious, and he's such a... I mean, that matches the Superman comics because in the 40s and 30s, he was a no bullshit guy. He was beating up wife beaters and stuff like that. If you read the comics,
the first year of the series was but then they realized kids were getting so much into it that they had to lighten it up. But the first season was
Kellogg's did that.
Yeah,
Kellogg's
they had this one guy's going around killing people in the town, gassing them. There's these abusive people. There's the one where he pushes a guy off a cliff. Did he push him off a cliff?
No, he just left them there, and then they tried to get down.
Yeah, they left him because he's you know my identity. I'm just going to strand you here.
Well, that I was going to talk about this, so I'm glad we kind of streamed in. There's this one writer that was on that show, and his name pops up in a lot of these radio dramas that I listen to on the Sirius XM thing. Jackson Gillis. That guy wrote the best mysteries. And I think he wrote the monkey one, the monkey mystery, and he wrote... one of the best stories were some of the best stories were this Jackson Gillis guy. And he wrote a lot of the crime dramas that you hear on the old radio. He was just a good writer. And I think he wrote some features, too.
My problem now is bless Noel Neal, but ever since I rewatched the series during the lockdown, I just am a Phyllis Coates person.
Oh, yeah.
She's so much better. She just brings that sort of noir-y type of tough.
Did you ever see her in that Jungle movie? The Jungle serial? Her and Clayton Moore. I think it is, yep.
But she's still alive, too.
Yeah.
She's like 94, 95 years
she
old.
was in... I watched her in a Leave It to Beaver episode. She plays the neighbor where these new neighbors and Beaver somehow thinks that her husband is out to get him or something because she's being nice to him, and he gets all weird. But it's Phyllis Coates, and she looks so different because she's got long blonde hair.
Speaking of something related to that, when I was talking about watching the Wolfman meets Frankenstein or whatever, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, the leading role in that is the young handsome man in that is one of the old men in Trading Places.
Was it Don Amici?
No, it was the other one, the tall one. I can't think of the actor's name.
Dan Aykroyd? No.
Dan Aykroyd.
Trading. I don't know.
I just remember Don Amici it was the brothers, the evil Dick brothers there.
Yeah, and the tall one.
And if you watch, I have the Legacy collection of the Mummy, and plays Clarice in a lot of them. Lon Chaney Jr.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
It's always the Tannelees.
I think I have that, too. I'll have to rewatch
those Mummy ones, when they have, his eyes just black, they have some kind of superimposed blackness when his head is all wrapped and you just see the black of it. Man, that terrified me as a child. That first movie, especially. Those also got pretty campy as they went along.
Oh, yeah.
But the first one is great. And it's so... You barely see the monster. And
you see the trail, the Band-Aid go on the door.
But that's to me is... real genius in making horror is a suggestion of horror.
So I think that's what we've lost.
Well, that was the Val Lewton approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Val Lewton. Actually, they had a bunch of his movies on, like the 13th Victim and like Cat People and all these.
Yeah,
and
13th Victim was good.
Yeah, the subtlety we've really lost. Now it's all in your face these days.
Gore and green screen.
I was watching the most recent Halloween because I have that Peacock streaming, and the most recent Halloween Kills or whatever came
Halloween
out.
Kills. There's going to be Halloween Ends, so there's one more after this.
Well, see, Halloween Kills was in theaters exclusively or in your home at Peacock if you got Peacock. So I talk about how I love that first film and where they used almost no gore. There was no visual blood in that first film.
There was William Shatner making a cameo face-wise.
Versus, and, not every single buddy he ran into was slaughtered. Whereas I just watched the most recent one, and it's just so gratuitous with the gore. And one, the movie looks spectacular because you make spectacular looking movies now, but everybody Michael Myers ran into died, no matter what.
Even calling DoorDash. What did you bring me? What'd you bring me for DoorDash? Ah, good. PETA, good.
Yeah, but like the indiscriminate acts that he would choose his victims before, it's like there's no indiscrimination whatsoever. He was just slaughtering everybody. He came out of the bird. I don't want to ruin it for anybody
because they're not concentrating.
By now anybody
who's
seen it, so you could say enough about it.
Yeah. Well, it's just he slaughters an entire group of 18 firemen with axes and saws who are trying to fight him single-handedly. This I understand the suspensions of disbelief to enjoy movies, but it's just ridiculous versus how simple nuance can affect you if you know what you're doing.
Well, that's what you're going to care more about the person that gets away than the person that's getting killed.
And nobody got away.
That was the thing about the slasher movies. A lot of times the people who got killed, it was like the urban legend thing where they were dicks, like the horny teenagers, or like you want to talk porn, Flesh Gordon.
Yeah. Right.
But it was always like there's almost like they, it would be the good person who survived. It was like almost like a moral, like the old moral stories.
Don't
but
go
like
have
Halloween
sex.
scared
You're
the Halloween. Scared the heck out of me when it came, but that was because you never knew where he was. But he would just come out and rapidly kill people. The kid runs into him with the thing. He's walking around on a Halloween night, just fucking past people, not knifing everybody in sight.
In this movie, that kid would have got an axe in his head, or something.
It's like that. You know what? In the end, it reminded me of. It would be like you're traveling for a gig and the town is a secret. Like there's the story about the house. Mm-hmm. Right. Something happened there. And that's it's almost came out of that.
Right.
Well, like I was just saying, they're not concentrating on the fear aspect. They're just going, like you say, in your face. It's like that's why Hitchcock was so good, because you were just sitting there going, come on, there's somebody there, don't you see him? And it's like you get involved and you're kind of invested in it, and there's fear involved.
Manipulating your emotions.
Funny story from the first one. I saw PJ Souls came to town. It had to be 2019. It was pre-COVID for the screening of Halloween. And went down. They're real nice. But what she said at the time, she was dating Dennis Quaid.
Oh, wow.
And Dennis Quaid nearly got the part. Was his name Brad, the one she bops in the movie? But she said, I really wish she would have gotten it, because after what happened with us, it would have been so great to see Michael nail him to the wall.
Yeah.
But it was just creepy. And plus, you never knew where he was. I thought, for the first time I saw it, I thought he was up in that tree when they walked by because of the music.
Or that scene when Jamie Lee Curtis goes against the door jamb and there's this dark room and then slowly his face shows up in the dark, and I saw in the movie how they did that. It had this tiny little light fader spotlight, and they just slowly turned it up so it's out of nowhere his face appears in the mask. So it was almost like your eyes adjusting to the dark, and all of a sudden he's there right over Jamie Lee And you don't, and he, it says, "Oh my goodness!"
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the fear part,
Mm-hmm.
That was when I was at the age where that stuff, like Night of the Living Dead, scared the heck out of me. What was that? It was actually a good question.
Yes.
What was like the first movie you saw that really scared you? Was it Showgirls, Greg? Or?
Yeah. The box office scared me. No, I don't know.
One of the first, because I hate that. I always do hate that.
I thought
what's the
there was that one. Well,
Spinal Tap because the drummers blew up.
I was I was older when I saw it, but that one Lugosi movie, White Zombie.
Yeah,
is really creepy.
That is creepy.
Yeah, they named it after that band, I think.
Yeah.
But you ever worry about that as drummers that you're going to blow up like on stage after seeing that?
No, more like pass out. But
a couple times got hot enough. Or I thought
one of the ones that got me when I was a kid was a movie called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And this guy, Bob Clark, has the weirdest resume where he did that one. He did Black Christmas, which scared me, but he also did Porky's.
Oh, wow.
He did A Christmas Story. Talk about a resume.
Yeah.
It's like the bands you play it. All these kids.
Right. I think the most terrifying thing was maybe Leave It to Beaver.
Yeah.
No,
well, Night of the Living Dead.
Too much happiness.
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead did get me a lot. And the thing was, I used to get like Famous Monsters. I read about it. I got all like the old horror books, but it was just when I was a kid watching that movie, freaked the heck out of me.
If I watched that movie as a child, which I didn't watch that movie until I was 19 or 20, so it's different. If I would have come across that movie as an 8 or 9 year old, I would have been terrified.
I was horrified.
What scared me, if you remember the Popeye cartoon with the goons.
Oh, the Goon, Alice the Goon.
That scared the crap out of me.
I got it. I know which one it is. I was about 10 years old, and my friend across the street told me to watch this movie Psycho, and it was the Alfred Hitchcock original Psycho, and that. I remember
that was
being
scary.
absolutely terrified by what the killer grandma.
When he comes out.
And the twist at the end.
Yep.
And then seeing the corpse of the grandmother at the end of the movie. Yes, that was probably it as far as...
I think a lot of it now, we've gone so beyond that, like now it's almost like it's all got to be camp or funny or brutal, because I mean, like now we get like the Iron Skies of the world where it turns out the Nazis fled and have a base on the moon.
I started to watch that. That was
was
some
it Udo
weird
Kier
crap.
or somebody? I am not Hitler.
That was some weird stuff.
I forgot my thought. Here, help save me, Rob. You're the
if we haven't talked about Hammer horror, what about Hammer horror? Your thoughts on Hammer horror?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
I still think Christopher Lee might be. I think Gary Oldman did a great job as Dracula, but overall, Christopher Lee might have really been the screen Dracula.
And Hammer horror always had a buxom young lady.
I never noticed that.
Yeah, whose cleavage would at some point be covered in blood.
Right.
Ingrid, was it Ingrid?
Which reminds me of
Barbara Steele.
The great bullet bra that was in Planet 9 at the chick. Straight across.
Yeah. The Hammer horror, I don't know them as well as I know Universal. I liked every one I've ever seen. I know I have not seen the catalog of them.
They're a lot like wrestling. Okay, here's Christopher Lee. He's the heel. Here's Peter Cushing. He's the face. Let him go at it.
Yeah.
I saw one, the Gorgon one, or the one about...
I think it's just called the Gorgon.
Yeah, and that was really good.
Thing is, I don't think a lot of kids these days would appreciate a lot of them because a lot of them have the slow burn.
Yes.
Where something's going on, you're trying to figure it out, and the reveal doesn't come to like the last...
Right.
Yep.
Minutes.
Well, they're done with more of an old style storytelling. Yeah.
But there's a recent one I really liked, and I think again it starts a little slow, but I really think that remake of The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro.
Oh, that's great.
I think it's the closest throwback to the Universal monster movies.
Oh, I'll have to see it.
Yeah, I've got that.
And I love the scene. I won't spoil it all, but the scene in the insane asylum. Well, it's obviously just a delusion of the mind. Like,
right.
But that's like the closest you can come to the old Universal horror movies.
I'll have to check it out. I haven't checked it out.
It's very good. What else was there that... Oh, you know what's a really good horror movie? Have you ever seen Pitch Black with
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel?
Yeah.
That's scary. Where they hardly show any monster at all. They just see these eyes, and they live in the dark caves. But it's like, it's scary, and it's fear. It's fear, and that to me is what you watch these movies for. I don't know.
I have a good one in that. It's old. It's a British film as well, I think. It's black and white. Village of the Damned.
Yeah, that's really
Plus
good.
rotten kids too. It's always when the evil little kids.
Those little demon kids with those they're all blonde little kids with dark eyes or something.
It always reminds me.
Aryan subtext there.
It always gets me too, like with that too, like when the little kid ran up and kicked me in the shin at Target.
Yeah.
Or like I'm in the line at Wegmans and the baby's hissing at me in front of me.
But what a psychological, cerebral, like horror movie.
Right.
Like
it's the commune
some
thing.
aliens came down and had sex with a bunch of women.
Yeah.
And you got to figure this stuff out. It's so, and the powers, and the kid can look at sideways and make the car go off the road. And
you know what it's like? It's like that. It's like Opie there in the Twilight Zone, wasn't it? Opie. Playing Opie Howard. Are you going to go in the cornfield?
No, that was
Bill Mooney.
Yeah.
It did the cornfield for you.
Yeah, that little bastard. I hated that kid.
Oh, that's the thing.
So don't let him hear me. He might turn me into a curse.
No, he put you on the show. You already cursed.
I put my head on a jack in the box.
That was the best.
There's actually a guy named the Critical Drinker. He's like this Scottish guy. He's like a real cynical guy on YouTube, but he reviews movies. But there's a really good point. I'm going to sound like a curmudgeon in Up, where he writes, why do movies suck now? They're written by children for children. He went through like Dune. He said the recent Dune movie's really good. It's slow burn. There's characters. Most of the time you look at movies now, it's all explosions, all emotionalism. And he compared Star Trek Wrath of Khan with... He said, look, like when Spock dies, what happens? Kirk's the leader of this crew. He sinks down with his friend. With the eulogy, he's trying not to... Because he's the captain. He has an example. He cracks up just a little at the end. But he has to be an adult about it. Now, you're screaming, they're shooting, fighting.
They're also trying to, in movies today, condense... We've got so used to watching series on these streaming services that can really take and develop characters and blah, 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 and take time. Now they're trying to condense so much stuff into movies, the plot lines, the characters. Now they're having to do that. They need to make movies 3.5 hours long now.
Attention span.
It's like they used to know how much to feed us in a 90 minute to 2 hour.
And I agree.
And without being so condensed, and you got to take notes to follow plot lines sometimes. And
the Game of Thrones thing, as some people would say when they got into go, okay, you have to put the boots up here.
Right, again, but then you're consuming that over episode after episode after episode, slowly over, not in one sitting trying to. And then, I can't sit for 3.5 hours.
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay, here, did you see? I know you saw it. We both saw it. The Snyder Cut of Justice League.
I was just going to say, I bought a DVD of it because I figured,
I did
hell?
too.
It was on sale. So you watch it, and it goes by really fast. You don't notice that it's 4 hours long. I mean...
I had the moment where I'm like, I shouldn't have eaten those pickled beets. Pause. Let's go back halfway.
That's
Zack Snyder reshot all the stuff that he wanted to do in the first place.
What are you talking about?
The Zack Snyder.
Oh, okay.
So we went from an hour and 50 to 4 hours, and it's completely different in a lot of ways.
It's way different. Like that stupid Russian family thing is gone, and a lot of stuff that didn't make any sense is gone. There's some stuff. Like the Flash stuff, the slow-mo stuff sometimes gets a little old, but that's just his style. And
you remember when they advertised the movie, they advertised the scene where there's Alfred. He says, I'm glad I heard you were coming. I hope you're not too late. It wasn't even in the movie when it came out. I thought it was the Masked Grappler. But I think, again, he screwed up. He signed the wrong contract. They had to airbrush him out and put somebody else.
And they had the black suit Superman.
He signed really cool. Dozens of contracts for movies and hasn't showed up.
See, now I like the Snyder Cut movie, but again, it's 4 hours.
Yeah.
But the big complaint I heard from a lot of people was a non-horror movie, that The Irishman, that it was just too long.
I didn't consume it. I haven't checked it out.
That's why, because it's too long. But you notice how this ties into wrestling, too. Because look at all the horror-themed wrestlers and everything, especially like The Undertaker, one of the most popular of all time.
They've been trying to replicate that ever since. Mankind was sort of like other arm to try and give him an opponent. You ever seen the Abyss and the other?
Yeah, Abyss, Loch Ness, I think he was, and another one.
Yeah, who's now working backstage for WWE as an agent.
And you had like the crazy gimmick characters like George the Animal, Abdullah the Butcher. It was real in those
Larry
days.
Shreve from Canada.
Larry Shreve, the Sudanese madman by way of Winnipeg or Manitoba, who owns barbecue joints.
You ever hear him talk? He's got this high pitched voice, and I'm surprised.
I'm going to kill you.
I'm surprised he's not living still. I know he's not in good shape.
I know, but he had his Abdullah Butcher's House of Chinese and Prime Rib.
Yeah.
And you can see pictures of people taking pictures with him. And like they fit into his fat, like here, like put his head around him.
Can you put the fork in my forehead like you did to Harley Race in 77?
Here's a sport. Can you sign it? And I used to love how the referees would somehow pretend they didn't see the fork.
He was famous for pulling a fork out of his trunk.
You would hit with the fork.
And like literally open people up with it. They do that on purpose.
You know, like the Sheik would like shoot his balls of fire at people. But I guess Eddie Farhat, he would chase kids around the hotel and everything. He wouldn't break character.
No, he wouldn't. Wow. He was strict about that stuff.
You wouldn't do that stuff. Or they had
Speaking of horror,
yeah,
he would scare the shit out of people, man.
Yeah,
he would never drop out of character.
Yeah, that's how it was, how serious it was and everything in those days. Even The Undertaker, he was one of the ones, he never broke character until he retired.
He was a throwback, total throwback. And that's why his interviews since he retired have been such a smash, because you never saw him be a person. Unlike the difference with wrestling today is everybody's got social media accounts and you see their real lives, whereas they had to keep kayfabe, and of course there was no social media, no phones in everyone's pocket. You didn't see what people had for breakfast, lunch, what they did.
You saw what they wanted you to see.
Yeah, you didn't see that they were jet skiing with their arch enemy in the bay that afternoon.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because that's kind of permutated through a lot of entertainment. Because if you go back to the old days, the movie studios owned the theaters.
Yeah. That's true.
And they control the distribution chain. So it's like, okay, we're going to make this movie, we're going to put it in our theaters, and we're going to get our money back.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came up with these monopoly laws, I guess, and all this other stuff, and they broke that stuff up. But it's like, there was control, and the studios made the stars, and the stars, they put the publicity out, and I don't know, there was some kind of a distance there. Now it just seems like.
You remember, too, actually, at the beginning of Frankenstein, I don't know if it's on the things we have, where they had the announcement before, like, people who are faint of heart should not.
This might
shock you.
Yeah. William Castle was the master of that, where he give out, like, insurance if you drop dead during his...
Oh, yeah, he was the master.
They have, like, Emergo the skeleton go fly.
That's a movie that scared the crap out of me when I was a teenager. It was Homicidal.
Oh, is it that there's like I've heard? I think I just
it's
saw
like a Leonard Glenda thing. It's like he's actually he's impersonating a girl, and he's this guy, and it's like he's got weird teeth. Like you could watch it sometime. Okay. It's fucked up.
John Waters would say though, like when they would do like when the William Castle movies play, he'd get there early and find like where the Tingler buzzer was, so he could sit on it. Or they say the skeleton would get stuck, and they'd throw stuff at it.
Yeah, Haunted Hill.
There's actually a movie really. A lot of people I don't think have seen called Matinee, where John Goodman plays basically William Castle coming to a town with his movies. Yeah.
Oh, wow, really?
I love John
one
Goodman.
that got me, though, just because somehow it sank in as just being creepy, was Freaks.
Oh, Freaks, yeah.
That's another one that's in my rotation of what a bizarre movie. And
Todd Browning was bizarre.
He was there's a book about him where he was obsessed like with amputations and like abnormalities, and a lot of his movies featured like Remember that sick one where Lon Chaney's in love with the woman?
He's the knife thrower?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's messed up.
That is really where he gets his arms amputated, then she falls in love with the strong man.
Yeah. Yeah, he puts himself in the middle of two horses on treadmills. two horses on two treadmills, and he's tied up with them, and they run, and he just gets his arms ripped out of it. Oh, yeah, and he does it just for this girl, and then... So there's the tragedy, though. See, the tragedy is not that he's lost his arms. The tragedy is that he did it for nothing. And that's where they get you. It's
that's like okay, thanks for changing your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Twilight Zone episode where the guy has his vocal cords removed to win a bet.
That's a great
one. And the guy he wins like a multi-million-dollar bet to not speak for a year, and turns out the guy has no money.
Right.
You have my word as a gentleman, though I'm sorry. Thanks a lot. Well, he wouldn't say thanks a lot, would he?
I'd write him a note. I'm going to take it out of your ass. And then kill him.
But have you seen, like, I've noticed, too, Halloween's just over our time become such a thing for playing gigs. Is it always, like, when you started playing, was it like that? Like, especially Greg? Was it really as crazy? Because I know that's why I quit doing doors at bars. That actually Halloween night, when
never was a
when they had
huge
Coyote
holiday.
Joe's across the street from the corner, I just said, I'm done. I can't take it anymore.
I don't think it was. It sort of like the whole Wednesday of Thanksgiving week. That's become
I never
huge.
knew that. I actually literally never knew that until I started working at bars. But I guess like people come home from college and everything.
That's where it came out of, I think, derived out of, is the fact that everybody's just spending back on their hometown after the first semester in college, getting back with their high school friends, and drinking age was younger.
Right.
That was one of my moments where I said it really reflected the holiday spirit. Like there was a Beater gig at the Crown. It was Christmas. It was Thanksgiving Eve. I'm like, well, I'm going to gain 20 pounds tomorrow anyways. I'm going to go get a plate.
Right.
Tahoe's is out the door, right?
Yeah.
So
I always like the Halloween gigs because I like to watch the people and stuff, but it's really hard because it's hard to play in any kind of
game. But this woman was next to me at Tahoe's, right? This woman's next to me at Tahoe's, and she's like, oh, Merry Christmas. I'm like, oh, Merry Christmas. Like, wow. For a minute, I'm just thinking, that was really nice, a nice, kind. Then she's like, are you alone? And then I'm on Lyle Avenue. Okay. Oh, well, humanity. Tom Waits' Christmas card from a hooker in Minneapolis is playing out here. But yeah, I know it's kind of hard thinking like drummers. You kind of wearing the stuff and like actually Ava Sawyer from.
Well, you can't wear hand things. You can't wear a mask if you're singing.
Well, the mask grappler can. Yeah. But the Ava Sawyer, from the Archive Ravens, they love being on the show. They want to be again. But I saw her at her gig at the Little, so she wore a witch's hat, and she said, "I'm not used to wearing hats." While I was playing piano, I kept bumping my head on it.
Yeah.
One time, here's a funny story. A Thanksgiving Eve gig. I was in Buddha Hood, and we were playing in some bar in Erie, Pennsylvania on Thanksgiving Eve. And, it was a crazy night, full-on packed people. But we all had to drive home because to have Thanksgiving with our families the next morning. And it was one of those deals where we were done playing at 2 a.m, and we hadn't eaten dinner, so we were driving back down the thruway, and somewhere we stopped at a truck stop, and there's this restaurant there, and we're starving, and it's 4 a.m, and we're eating these huge cheeseburgers, and me and Paulie Hansen are looking at each other, and it's like, it's Thanksgiving morning. In about 6 hours of me stuffing our face and our family, we're eating cheeseburgers on the thruway at truck stop cheeseburgers on Thanksgiving Day.
That's a song right there.
Yeah,
Truck stop cheeseburgers on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Start writing.
Okay.
One of the other memories I have, though, too, was like the old days, actually, of Rocky Horror at Panorama Plaza. The best part, they really... But the best part was not seeing that. One time, I was drunk. I went up and did the time worker fell into one of the coffins and knocked it over. But one of the best things was they would go to Perkins afterwards. And they would stay in costume. And like Dr. Frankenfurter looked... The way he would order, it'd be like... 1 hot fudge sundae. It would be like a royalty thing where he's like the king.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I wondered because Halloween I thought got a little out of hand for a while, just with all the stuff and all the madness and stuff around.
Well, and then you get the people that think lighting a car on fire is fun to do and things like that.
And then any opportunity to any holidays now is an opportunity to monetize in some way. I don't remember seasonal costume shops popping up when I was a child. The way what are these big costume shops?
Arlene's.
Well, I mean,
Arlene's has always been here.
Yeah,
What are those ones that pop up and then go away?
Oh, I don't know.
There's one right by me too right now, and I'm actually blanking on it.
I am too.
Halloween. You see the signs?
Yeah, it's very popular. It's where everyone goes now, and they blow poor Arlene off.
Wow.
Yeah, they're all. Oh, I can't believe. I can't remember because they're all over. Like
Witchcraft Halloween.
Well, I've never seen these.
I gotta pull my phone.
Yeah, we gotta get this one.
Pad for me.
It's all on there. They're everywhere. We're gonna all go. Oh, come on!
Like vape shops. Yeah.
Scream. Halloween. I had a friend who worked for one. Even they open up like you see them in September.
Yes, I'm gonna find out.
You see the sign; they're everywhere. I have like two right walking
maybe I
to my
don't get
house.
out enough. I don't know.
You will know.
I'm in too many rehearsals. I don't get out enough.
You will know.
Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, Spirit Halloween. You've seen
Spirit Halloween. Well, there's those. They're the ones that pop up in different empty storefronts and then go away after the holiday.
Huh.
Yeah, remember in the day, what did we do? We went down like the Gold Circle and got those plastic, because I was Batman one year with the plastic mask. You could still smell to this day.
Oh, yeah. That was it. You'd see the faces in the behind the little in the boxes, and underneath was their cheap little outfits that would fit every kid.
Yeah. I love those.
I did too, man.
Yeah, I was like, I still remember one that sticks out as I was Batman, of course, one year.
I did that once I made my own, though. I made the belt. I took a regular belt and cut a paper thing and wrapped it around and put the little utility belt things.
Yeah.
And I made the mask out of a paper bag, and I got creative.
I did one year. I was a monster from space. It was like with all around. Like thing was, I couldn't see through the eye holes, so I was falling all over the place. Though.
Yeah,
that was the one.
Like Halloween '77, on the heels of the first Star Wars, I attempted to make a R2-D2 out of a bunch of boxes, and my R2-D2 for some reason was square.
Yeah.
He had a fat square bottom and a fat smaller square head, and I decided that was good enough. And then I painted it up. I looked at the dude, and I found stuff to sort of simulate his look, but it was a cube. It was like what's that video game? Everything is cubular.
Cubert there?
No, it's not. It's more modern. Minecraft. It was like R2-D2 from Minecraft.
Did you ever see that movie Kronos? It's a 50s.
Yeah, with 50s. Like the
big square thing.
In the
air.
Yeah.
I was Darth Vader that year, and I actually got one of those plastic lightsabers from Gold Circle again.
Nice.
Because actually, we went to Gold Circle every week because my mom was eccentric about making tea with distilled water. So we got distilled water at Gold Circle.
Oh, and my R2-D2 had arms coming out the side of it. It's like coming out the side. His box that come down past my knees and a little box on my head.
That would have given you something for creativity on that. I mean, you made an effort.
I think I won for the Batman. That's why, because I went through all that effort. It probably looked like crap, but it was like a Cub Scout thing, so they gave me, oh, you won. Okay.
No, that's weird.
Poor boy.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah, that's it. Well, look, he tried.
Yeah.
He tried.
No, that's one thing I always had when I have the time, and as an adult, I have sometimes Halloween sneaks up on you, and you're like, "Holy crap!" But if I have the time and I have something to do, I always loved coming up with costumes. I enjoy it when I am allowed to, and I have the time and space to.
Yeah, I have some friends who are really good with makeup, and they always paint their faces up every year for it. But especially like with COVID was weird, and like literally. We have the shunned house on my block. I think we got 2 trick-or-treaters, and they were like 20 years old this year.
Nobody comes down my street.
Well, the thing was, we had that haunted house. I put some pictures up on Facebook about it. It was like it was with the Hearst Club, and it was jammed. Jam-packed.
You go, certain neighborhoods, they're still pretty active, but if a neighborhood doesn't nurture it over, it's my neighborhood has been dark for years. Nobody.
And it gets earlier and earlier.
Yeah.
By 7 o'clock, it's over.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Remember when we were kids like that? This is something I reflected on with some friends about Halloween. When you were a kid, you'd think you were out till like 2 a.m. You probably got home by 8 to watch The Great Pumpkin.
Yeah,
it was probably 8 or something. I imagine. We stuffed as much in as I could. I remember back in
and
the
the best
day.
nights were the sideways rain nights.
I had one.
Oh,
I had one night with really bad rain. That was it. Actually, it's weird. Like in memory, like I remember certain Halloweens. Others I remember like bits and pieces. But I remember one in particular because it was pretty much my last one. It was wild and great fun. But the other one was the one that really, really poured.
Oh, it's
ironically, I went as Frankenstein. I stuffed tissue here for shoulder pads.
It's demoralizing on those cold Halloween nights when you're Batman and Mom says Batman has to wear a jacket.
Yeah.
And you're walking around Batman with a jacket. It just isn't the same.
There's no jackets on Batman.
It's one thing. Have you seen the previews for the new one?
I have.
Yeah,
I think
it's
it
interesting.
It looks good.
I think Paul Dano's a really, really good actor. It looks like the Riddler's more like a serial killer nut, like with this weird thing he wears.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to keep changing it because I think the whole idea, like I think the Gotham show really did a good job.
I love that
because it kind
show.
of set the whole thing up,
Yeah.
And I like what they did with it because
I watched that whole show. I like that a lot.
It's not like what flies and was the most dangerous animal in the world. Well, golly, Batman, I've got that a sparrow with a machine gun.
Of course. Why didn't I think of that?
That show I appreciate more and more as I got older.
Me too.
Because it's so funny, just in terms of like lectures. I would like a candy bar. Fresh fruit would be better for you.
Well, you know what? And what they did, I always say this, but what they did to me is they said, okay, what if these people really existed? What if this was, because it was in real life, and what if this world was actually out there with this guy and his sidekick? And,
who they put in Harriet in the mansion because they were worried what some people would think about that sidekick in him.
Gay, yeah. But, the thing is, too, if he's a ward, so he is going to kind of be concerned about his upbringing. So, but they overdid that. They made it so stupidly obvious, overdid it.
Plus, there was a little weirdness where he would get all, jealous when Catwoman was flirting with Batman.
Right. Oh, my favorite line. They got away with this one, man. They're in they foil some little thing in a drugstore or something, and there's a bunch of greeting cards or something. I don't know. There was a fight. And then all these girls rush up. Oh, you're wonderful. Thank you for saving us. And they all got the freaking 50s hairstyle, the 60s, But Robin says something about the girl reminding him of Catwoman, and, I don't know. They're so, she's beautiful. It reminds me of Catwoman, and Batman says to him, well, Robin, you're experiencing the first thrusts of manhood. And how they were able to get away with stuff like that.
That was total tongue-in-cheek.
There's only one death. There's only one death, I guess, the one Moll from the Riddlers fell in the vat. And I think Batman's line was, poor deluded child.
Yeah, what a way to go.
Yeah.
Hey, Batman, this afternoon, I didn't before, but I noticed those things sticking out of Catwoman's chest. They really like to look at them.
You're aging, old chum. But that's they pitched perfect the way they did it. And it wanted to work with Superman because it wouldn't have been. You could never. You just go, this is stupid.
No. They had a lot of fun. That line must have been a tongue-in-cheek joke amongst the writers.
Oh, yeah.
And Adam West.
Or
but again, it was 60s. You could get and all the girls, they were hot.
Yeah.
They had tight
two of my
jeans.
favorites, the one where they're climbing the rope in the movie, and he's like, gee, babe, there's a lot of weird characters walking around here, and nobody says anything. And he just makes this, it's a lowly crowd filled with rum pots.
Right.
They can't tell what's gee, drink's an awful thing, Batman.
Yeah, and then you notice they had those two women sitting at a table eating, and they looked like freaking divine. They had the big hair, and they were kind of fat. Right. And it was they had this, I think there was some sort of a weird thing there where they, because Lorenzo Semple, man, he was a great writer. All the best stories were his stories. And, again, I always say this, the first season of that show, the camp was sprinkled in, and it wasn't so overt, and then later they just made fun of themselves.
They started getting bored or something.
And there was the other line I like where he goes the bad guys, they do things like smoke tobacco and stuff while we're pure or whatever. We get away because our hearts are pure. Right. Well, if they knew what they were doing, the actors were doing while that show was filming.
Right.
I read Burt Ward's book. I had a wash afterwards.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's...
Oh, this is the 60s.
I read somewhere that Adam West was quite the ladies' man.
Oh, yeah.
After that show came out.
World War II, they were both.
They were trimming their way to ecstasy.
Oh, yeah.
And then we go back to Hammer horror.
Yeah, so...
I mean, Universal.
Are any more thoughts on Universal or Hammer before we wrap up our Halloween special in November?
Well, this was just... I remember back in the day, like, Simpsons Hollywood show would come out the week after Halloween. And I'd be, why in the hell are they doing that? So that's we're in that tradition. We're doing, like, the
and
week
because,
after.
like, the Batman TV show, we are pure of heart.
Right.
Sort of.
I lament the older... the craft of those older Universal movies, because they really worked at it, like you said, the sets, and they really went to town on all that stuff. Now you see all this, like, every time I see a big explosion and the fire and everything, and it's like, okay, green screen. Because it all looks the same in every movie. Yeah. It's like they use the same template. They just, hit the button and then there it is.
There's something... Yes, you can create anything, but they all look alike on the things like the CGI, where before you had, like, Ray Harryhausen. Right. You had to be creative. Or even imagine, I think there was a fun part about, like, they gave us some money, and you had to be in a budget, so you had to work with what you had.
Right.
Try to come up with the creature. Like, you was like, there's an old vacuum cleaner nozzle, let's put that on and build these things. Yeah. They still don't know what the flying saucers were from Plan 9. There's even the people who worked on it. There's speculation if
there's
they were
awful light from the way they
if they were pie tins or what they were.
Yeah. They were probably.
But
pie
there's a
tins.
fun in that, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's almost like if you were a kid making a movie, how would you do it?
Yeah.
It's like kind of like on a shoestring.
Like the first Halloween, some silly like $300,000.
Imagine the
budget.
podcast crew going
millions.
Imagine us doing like a Scooby-Doo mystery as the podcast crew.
Oh man, that'd be great.
No, it's a record producer again.
I'm sure we could find an old van.
It's about time for Greg and I to go get some Scooby snacks.
Yes.
That's right.
So what's going? I know you're going on a lot of stuff coming up for shows. What's coming up?
Oh, we got a joint one coming up at Record
We do. That's right.
That is legal now. I think you could say joint.
Yeah.
Now be warned. I'm just saying that some places, I think Archive, you need both. You need your card. You just.
I think so. I guess so.
They want people to be vaccinated at the backroom lounge. They'll ask you.
Not vaccinated in there. They don't
not
give you a
in
shot. They give you the floor.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that the way that place looks. Get a shot. I don't know what's going to be in that.
They have. I played a show there in September. I think it's a proof of vaccination venue.
Yeah.
It's if you've never been to the back room lounge, it is such a special place.
And I always say, what
cool.
other place can musicians play under a chandelier with a big T-Rex?
I can't think of another place. Can you?
No. And I always say, what better deal? Get drunk and shop. Hey, win-win. You know?
Yeah, then the next you get your statement, I bought that.
Yep, exactly.
No, but Greg and I, Brian Lindsay Band and JPP are playing Black Friday at the Record Archive. That'll be special.
That's going to be awesome.
That is always a cool. It's later in the afternoon. People have gotten the shopping. You can get out of their way, or they're still shopping. Get a cocktail there, watch some music. It's I've done that before there. And let's see, I got the very next day. JPP will be at B-Side on the 28th of.
Oh, cool.
Just say
November.
the date, 2 days after Thanksgiving, because I don't know what the date of it is this year.
December 11th, we got the JPP is at Three Heads Brewing, and then December 17th,
we're rolling.
JPP is at Johnny's Lounge, and then we got more gigs in Murph's.
27th.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, 27th.
Yeah. And then the Masked Grappler is going to be over in Asia, probably, for a while.
The Masked Grappler will be in, he has yet to come back. Well, no, excuse that. He just came back last night from Sri Lanka. He's out in the hallway protecting us right now. But he has got some dates in Nashville, some dates in Colorado, and one date in Germany.
And we do have our own Adriana Nunes playing on the 26th at Love and Cup at Night. So you can go see these guys.
Oh, okay.
And then you can go see her afterwards.
And how many... You got a million gigs coming up because you have how many bands?
He's become the Phil Collins. Greg's become the Phil Collins of Rochester from 1980s.
Seriously, you got 4 bands right now?
Yeah, I have November 14th at Smokin' Joe's with Anonymous Willpower. I've got the Brian gig with you, and then I've got one with Brian at Johnny's on December 3rd. And then I have the Tom Waits show coming up on December 14th. Which
the day after my birthday,
I know
so
very little about.
For me.
All I know is the date. I don't know who's involved. I know it's
Tom Waits for no one.
Me, Alan Murphy, Phil Marshall, and Brian
Williams.
That should be
I might see the Mighty High and Dry guys. I just saw Alan and Kyle, and I'll ask him if he knows anything that's going on.
Yeah. We had to coordinate some stuff because Alan wasn't available on some dates. And
I heard he told the whole story,
yeah.
the trials and travails of what happened with the Mighty High and Dry and everybody the last couple months and everything. And Adriana might play, I guess, Archive coming down pretty soon.
Cool.
Which is cool. But I know she's playing at Love and Cup. New stuff on the way from her, too. Look this Friday in terms of stuff.
Yeah.
And our own Alyssa Trey, and she's playing her Gingerbread song and her Christmas song. She's doing a Christmas show at B-Side on December 22nd.
I gotta get some of her stuff. I gotta see, listen to her music. I haven't.
Oh, I didn't get you one yet. I'll grab one if she's in. I've gotten.
I really liked that Annie Lennox, or not Annie Lennox, that Annie Wells thing you gave me. That CD you gave me.
Yes.
Phil Marshall's on that. I told him, I said, man. That is
some
great stuff.
Oh, by the way, our own Annie Wells, and we never get all the promos, and our own Annie Wells on the 20th is playing her Joni tribute show.
Oh, yeah?
I enjoyed that recent podcast you had with her, and my buddy Paul was here on that podcast. Paul, I can't pronounce his last name.
You would have been here. You would have been here today if he wasn't feeling that good. So we get all of you addicted on this
Paul's
thing.
awesome. He came to the Crown game.
Last thing on that too is we can't end it with. There's actually I'm going to play something from an artist, but what's your view on Candy Corn?
I hate it.
Down?
Candy corn.
It gives me a
fire
headache.
it all to the moon.
Excellent. So
put it in a rocket and fire it into outer space.
Actually, at one of Adriana's gigs, one at Photo City, I met
cotton candy.
I met this very talented and Circus Peanuts. I met this very talented performer named Sarah King. Now, if you look if you look up Sarah King, there's a lot of them. Okay. This is the one from Nashville, and she just put out this EP called The Hour, and it's very good. She actually does a live cover of War Pigs, but we're not going to play that because I don't want to get sued. So we're going to play her song, Cold Hard Ground. And this is her. It's called The Hour, and it's by Sarah King. She's got a website everywhere, and you have to look a little, like I said, she's Nashville-based because she said if you Google Sarah King, there's like 3 of them.
Okay.
So This is the one. And
Sarah King.
Yes.
Cool.
So cool. And thanks a lot, guys.
Happy
Halloween.
Thank you,
happy
man. Thank you,
Thanksgiving.
Rob.
We'll
Thank
see you
you,
guys
Greg.
soon. Bye-bye.
Seeds rolling across the floor. Hear wolves howl outside the door. Tired old magic don't work on me anymore. You say you called the devil up yesterday. Won't you tell me what the old man had to say? Can't think of a lie, you better get on your knees and pray. When I die, I know just what awaits me. I'm free from a world that betrayed me. The cold ground is gonna hold me. That's what my mama told me. You drink like me, you'll find an early grave. Soul like mine's got nothing to say. If you find that